Good old friend. Good new
Yep.
friend.
Good new friend as well.
I don't mean that disparagingly, Scott.
Okay, thank you very much. Right.
He didn't mean your age.
Right. Of course he did.
Um, quick self-introduction. Name, who you're with, and what you do.
Okay, yeah. My name is Charlie Schreiner. I'm with ETM Surveying and Mapping in Jacksonville, Florida. I help manage most of our LiDAR projects, aerial, mobile, terrestrial, Navis projects. Very proud to do all that. I got a great mentor here, Scott Graham. He taught me just about everything I know about that stuff. So
Yeah.
I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I'm Scott Graham. I'm the chief surveyor and a vice president and shareholder at ETM Survey. I've been with them about 14 years now.
14 years.
And like Charlie said, we handle everything LiDAR and everything public.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, we met
Yeah.
originally at Topodot.
We did.
That's where we met. Yeah. That's right. That's right. So you guys have worked together for how long? You said
It's going on 6 years now. Yeah.
6 years.
Mhm.
Okay. And we were talking about it. One of the reasons I wanted to have both you guys on is because I was so fortunate when I was your age
Yeah.
to have a mentor, you know, much like Scott. And why don't you guys talk about the importance of that relationship and how it's evolved?
Okay. Well, I'll be kind. I first met Charlie when he was very young.
Thank you.
Young and dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, he had a drive in him that I recognized right away, and that made it easy. He was eager to learn and wasn't really caught up with, well, this is the way we learned it in school, or this is the way I think it needs to be done. He was open to learning, just about anything I had to say, and it made it very easy to work with him. I think the best part about it is that I could really just tell him something once or twice, and he would take it and run, and then come back if you ran into problems or needed some input. And that dynamic has changed because he went from being somebody that I trusted in the field to now somebody I trust with running my projects.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. That's a like really cool evolution, right?
It is.
So like, I'm sure he's not the first person you've mentored, right?
Not the first, but the first one that's really stayed with it and taken it to additional levels.
Sure. Yeah. And that was my next question, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and kind of like, what are some of the good traits, I guess, for somebody, to be a good mentor? And then I'm going to flip it over and ask you the same thing. But like, what makes you a good mentor?
I quit being the angry old guy telling me to get off my grass.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, I can learn a lot from that too, though. So you never know.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny about the mentor conversation because Charlie actually met my old mentor yesterday.
Yeah.
That's
not
right.
knowing that he
That's
was my
right.
mentor. And his,
Did a lot of things start to make sense after that?
Yeah, absolutely.
You got it.
Yeah.
So no, really, I think I go back to when I was being mentored and what it felt like, and that you want the mentee wants to please, and the mentor wants to help them advance. You have to lose your ego. You have to be able to say,
That's
hey,
a good point.
hey, I told you that, but there's another way to do this, and they'll come up and show you when they find it every time, and that's great. That means that they're thinking and they're learning, and that's really where it takes. But overall, answering to your question is that a mentor, you need to have the patience, and you have to be willing to, like I said, set your ego aside and really be devoted to helping people advance in any way that they can.
Absolutely. So turning it around on you then, Charlie, I'm going to talk about why this relationship does work and, what it takes to be a good mentee, because it's a two-way street.
Yeah. Number one thing, don't be afraid to ask questions. Even if you think it might be a stupid question, I'm sure I've been there. You don't want to bother your mentor too much. He's busy or she's busy. Yeah. But you can't be afraid to ask those questions. I guess, what is the saying, Scott? It's like if you're not if you're not bothering your mentor or something like that, you're not doing a good job, kind of thing.
Sure.
You're not paying attention.
You're not paying attention.
Not paying attention.
If you're not a pain in the ass, you're
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. And then write things down. I'm someone who needs to write things down. I refer to it. I'll come back to it. So I'm not asked. I limit the amount of questions that I might have, And and just don't be afraid to, go above and beyond to kind of do your own research, your own deep dive, Googling, YouTube, we can figure things out on our own as much as possible. But just don't be afraid to come to your mentor as soon as possible, in an appropriate amount of time to kind of clear things up, clear the air. Bad news doesn't ever get better with time. You always want to, present it.
I love that.
Yeah. And, when you're learning, bad mistakes happen. I've been there. Scott knows it.
Yeah.
And you just got to learn from them and take it all in stride.
Yeah. And own them, right?
Yeah.
You got to own the mistakes.
Own it. Yeah.
Like you said, the bad news comment was
Right.
perfect.
And
Yeah.
it's not just mistakes. And Charlie's heard this story, but I'll tell it to you guys.
Yeah.
I don't think you have. But when I was a young surveyor, when I first got into the field, actually, my second boss passed Jan and all, and I was in Florida, and I was a little nervous about setting property corners when we were out there doing a boundary, because back then, we had our HP 41, we're figuring it out ourselves, and I'm calculating things out. And I was like, yeah, I think it should be here, and I'd calculate it out. And I took it back to the office and said, hey Dave, I think this is where I couldn't find this one. I think it went right here. Yeah. And he looks at me and he got very, very mad. I'll delete all the expletives that he used, and said, well, if you would have set the darn corner, you wouldn't have to. There's a 50% chance you wouldn't be going back. Now it's 100. Just make a decision.
Right.
And so, even if there's a mistake involved, it's okay to make a decision, and that's one of the really hard things for a mentee to learn sometimes.
It's okay to make mistakes.
It's okay to make mistakes, but you need to be able to make a decision, whether it be wrong or right. You're going to learn from it.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk about the projects a little bit. You said everything LiDAR, everything public. So, what are some of the cool projects you guys are working on now?
Well, we just got out of doing the stadium. I mean, it's still kind of active. We're on call to go back in the Jaguar Stadium.
And that's public, right? How is that?
That's a triple P project. It's a public.
Okay. Right.
City of Jacksonville and the Jaguars.
All right.
That's always a fun one to talk about. And Scott knows all about that, of course. We both worked on that project pretty intensively. So
did you get season tickets out of the deal, or what? I mean, now it's a decent football team, they're actually worth something, right?
I did not. No, but I think it's because they saw that I was a Bronco fan.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So did you guys do like all the layout on that project?
We didn't do any of the construction layout. Our company in general avoids construction layout if we can. However, we did do monitoring during the construction phase.
Okay.
And
Cool.
and on spot as-builts, as well as they're going through the process where they exposed more elements of the stadium that were behind walls that they were demoing. We were called back in to augment our scans and update the point cloud.
Gotcha.
It was a situation where our point cloud for the project was actually being hosted on a website where the designers and the architects and engineers could see it.
Yeah.
And then they could make design decisions, not necessarily use the information for design to be able to check if there's clearances and things. But it was a very popular way, and it was able to disseminate the information very quickly that way. I mean, for a lot of surveyors, that would be like a career-defining project to work on.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think I'm going to be talking about that one for quite a while.
Heck yeah. No doubt. What were some of the challenges that stick out to you on a project like that?
Well, it was we got the Navis right before that project came, and it was our first project with the Navis, and it was a big one. So learning the Navis kind of on the job. Thankfully, it's very intuitive to use, but the processing and everything, just like figuring it all out as we were going with tight deadlines we were trying to make for the Jaguars. That was probably the biggest challenge, and then just making sure our control was good. Control. Can't say it enough. There was a little bit of like resurvey, retraversing some spots here and there early on, just to make sure our control was as tight as possible. Our bench runs were all tight as possible. Everything was hard leveled through. So just being diligent on control. And that's what made the project really successful, because without that, we wouldn't have as good alignment between different scans, different data sets. because we're combining not just the Navis for mostly the interior work we use the Navis for, but we have the exterior work from terrestrial, from aerial. So bringing that all in together, that was the biggest challenge, but rewarding too, because we knew what we were doing, but you just got to look out for it when you would see an error or like a red flag, essentially. It's like, all right, we might have to, look into this a little bit more or go back out in the field, which we try to avoid, but it does happen,
Yeah, it was a true data fusion project.
And talk a little, like, how did you merge all those data sets? Like,
how did you manage those files?
Well, my IT guy's out of the hospital now.
Yeah, right.
But it was a bit of a nightmare. We did have quite a bit of data.
It's like, did you avoid like trying to go into his office? Like, hey, by the way, we had to go back and scan that. Here's another half dozen terabytes you have to deal with.
He could never let it get to that point. He'd just turn around and walk away. But no, it was, and actually because all the different sets of sensor data were kept individual, and then we did kind of fuse them together. So it was a continuous model, but we isolated the point clouds because different sensors, you have different parameters of accuracy and expectations. So we were using all of them in a seamed environment, I guess is the best way. So the Navis was strictly to the interior of the stadium. Exterior, we did terrestrial scanning and kept that isolated separate. So you could turn those on and off, but we did process them and merge them in so that it was a seamless model. So you could, and we did. If you would have seen my presentation, I had a model of it where we showed a colorized point cloud where we brought everything together from aerial to terrestrial and the Navis, and it was on the order of about 14 billion points. It was quite big. It's big computers. We bought some big computers, not just for the stadium, but for our LiDAR work in general, because we do generate just terabytes and terabytes of data from that, so that those computers could handle it.
And you mentioned this like kind of in passing, but talk about how do you manage the different levels of accuracy when you're pulling these things together?
Well, you gotta. I think the expectation is, what are you trying to measure ultimately? Like if I guess the best example I can give you is when we did the exterior of the stadium versus the aerial. Now, there's a lot of parking lot, but there's also a lot of green space.
Right.
And we basically pick a seaming area, like a sidewalk or a curb is a great spot where you can, your accuracy is better in this area than this, but you can seam those two, and you know that the measurements that you're going to get with the aerial data is going to be, in our case, it was like plus or minus 4 or 5 hundredths.
Gotcha.
With the terrestrial data, it's going to be plus or minus 2 hundredths. With the Navis, it's going to be plus or minus 2 hundredths usually. And so knowing what the expectation of accuracy was helps you define where that data set's going to cover. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So what software did you use?
Multiple, because it was aerial and terrestrial, and so there was Cyclone was involved with the terrestrial. We used Regal for our aerial, and then we also use TerraSolid software as a additional processing step for the aerial data because of the flight line to flight line matching capabilities we had. How we can tighten up the data sets, and then obviously the Navis for their Ivion platform for processing that data. So it was quite a potpourri of softwares.
That's crazy.
So what else you guys working on? You said the stadium's a big one, but what other kind of projects are?
Well, we do some of the mundane ones. We have contracts with the city of Jacksonville and other entities around where we do
nothing disparaging about the city of Jacksonville.
No,
it's not mundane. But
well,
just
they seem like mundane projects compared to the stadium.
Sure,
It's strictly like we're on a contract to do engineering or surveying for an engineer that is doing traffic upgrades in intersections where they have an intersection where they have like a higher than average number of pedestrian vehicle impacts or just accidents in general. They need to upgrade that. So we go in and we do those. We scan those. But we also, because we're a large firm with large land development arm, We also get some pretty cool projects where we're using the UAV, and we'll go fly 1,000 or 2,000 acres that they're going to be doing a master planned community on.
Yeah. Okay.
We also were involved on a team this last year. The University of Florida is taking over our local convention center property and a few other properties around it, and they'll be converting that into a campus. So we did, again, Navis and aerial work as well as terrestrial work on that. So it's a real diversification of projects. I think.
Yeah. Well, obviously you guys are dialed in, keeping up with technology and that type of thing. When you've walked around the show here for the last couple of days, what stuck out to you as maybe something that could potentially be a game changer for you?
Well, the one I noticed the most is dealing with point clouds and having banged my head against the wall back in 1999 trying to extract point cloud data. You see a lot more companies here this year that are doing extraction, but leveraging I won't say AI specifically, but it's like machine learned and HI, machine learning and HI for extraction to help. Because it seems like the real bottleneck in the workflows that when I've talked to most people here, not just at the show, but in Florida in general, that do the similar work to us, that the office work, the extraction is where it can bottleneck on them real fast.
And I've actually seen that in RFPs that come out. It's not when can you be on site, it's what's the processing time.
Right.
Yeah. Because everyone can get on site and collect data now because there's all these great tools. But how long is it going to take to actually get something out of it? How have you guys managed that? I mean, is it coming to shows like this to find better tools, or what do you do?
Well, defining better efficiencies. It's not necessarily in the tools, but sometimes just talking to people and being able to fine tune your process that you're working with. Right. And that's where my job is the hardest, is to identify where we're being inefficient and how maybe we can get better. And a lot of the vendors here have helped me with that, and as well as a lot of colleagues.
Yeah. How about you, Charlie?
Big takeaway from the conference that I've seen, and it's kind of funny. We're looking at the extraction processes, and there are a few more than before that we've seen here, and we're excited about. But that is one of the biggest bottlenecks, because we can collect data so much faster because we have all these toys, I would say. And that's my biggest takeaway is the number of toys we have in this exhibit hall. It is nuts. I mean, I got 4 or 5 of them in my view right here.
It's like $500,000 worth of toys.
Right. So that's definitely my biggest takeaway. I mean, I haven't been back here since like 2019. So it's been a little while, and I'm sure it has grown a little bit since then as far as the amount of companies, producing these UAVs and survey boats and stuff I'm seeing. So that's really interesting to me because it's like we have plenty, it looks like. I mean, I'm all for competition and getting better and better, but it looks like we have a lot of those. Now we're on the software side. We need to catch up a little bit and be a little more competitive in that market. So
good stuff.
Yeah. What else you guys got? You want anything else you want to get out there?
Well, I think the mentorship and having a succession plan.
You're about to retire, says someone told me.
I am. Yeah.
How was that? You talk a little bit about that succession planning and that process.
Well, if you don't have a succession plan, you're relying kind of on hope. Yeah, hope really isn't a very good strategy to rest your business on. So
fingers crossed.
So ETM in general, we have company-wide, tasked all of our leaders to identify people that they work with or that they can bring into the company that can follow, that they can train, and they can also follow in their footsteps.
Yeah.
Surveying, it's been a little bit more difficult there because of the multiple economic downturns that we've had. A lot of people left the industry and didn't come back. So there's a definite, I'll call it a Gen Z hole.
Sure.
Or a millennial hole.
Yeah.
Sort of that you go from one generation to the next. There's nobody there, And so there's as you can see with Charlie and I, there's a big age disparity. I do have, I brought in other surveyors that have experience, of 10, 20 years experience behind me, that are my interim solution. But ultimately, it's getting people like Charlie and other young students, in college, freshly out of college, that they can intern with us, that we can identify and hopefully bring along and hire early on in their career. And then our philosophy company-wise is that we have a career path laid out, regardless of, there's not just one path for you to follow, but we have multiple opportunities for you to go into different directions. I mean, I've had a lot of survey guys decide they're tired of leading a field crew in the field, and they go into the CEI route. Or sometimes I've had CEI guys come into survey, or they pivot and go into land development. And so you're not locked in, and I think that's the key with the company, to have a good succession plan. Is that you have the diversity to accommodate what people want to do. As well.
Like, how soon in advance do you need to start thinking about a succession plan? Like, if you know you're going to retire in 5 years.
If you have to ask that question, you're behind, right?
You're too late.
But like, you're not going to, like, a year before you retire, probably be successful at having a good succession plan, right? Like,
I guess what piece of advice would you give someone that is looking at retirement in the next 5 years?
There you go.
Well, 5 years is almost too late to start, because there's a lot of knowledge in surveying, especially I think, that, in engineering as well. There's a lot of things that that are inside your head that you forget to tell people sometimes. I mean, there's just until the situation arises, and you go, oh yeah. And so, really, my feeling is it takes 10 to 15 years to really be able to get somebody in place, work with them, and then be able to have them take over for you. So, I mean, if you really got to be thinking about it way early on, which is, and I'll plug, that's why you see a lot of companies probably right now being bought out. There's a lot of M&A going on, a lot of venture capital purchases, because those guys didn't have a succession plan.
That means you're already behind, Kent.
Story of my life. Well, guys, appreciate the conversation. Thanks for sharing
always good to see you, Scott.
Absolutely. You too, Sean. Appreciate it.
Thanks for sharing the mentor-mentee story.
Absolutely.
It's a good one. Absolutely. But you guys, good to see you. Great to meet you, Charlie. And safe travels.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for having us on. It's a pleasure. Thanks.